Okay, so I'm going to say some very, very controversial stuff, and I know people are going to really find this hard to believe. Did you know that if Gordon Ramsay, the Michelin star chef who owns, you know who he is, or if you don't like Gordon Ramsay, pick any Michelin star chef. Did you know that if a Michelin star chef personally cooks you breakfast by hand, it's probably going to taste better than if you go to McDonald's and order their big breakfast? Controversial stuff, I know, and I've got some pair of balls to be telling you this. But you know what? In the comments to some of my videos that I've made over the past 6 months, that's a very controversial statement. Like, people are giving me a lot of pushback against the same thing in photography. A poster of an Ansel Adams print is not the same thing. It's not the same thing as a print that was handmade by Ansel Adams. They're not equals. They're not as good as each other. Why am I getting any pushback on that? Like, really? If we're that, I mean, part of the reason why I had to reevaluate whether I wanted to continue doing YouTube or not was some of the comments. Like, photographers are so far gone that everything I've just said is controversial. And that's not the only reason why I had to reevaluate whether I wanted to continue doing YouTube or not. After 5 years and, 200 and something videos and 3.8 thousand subscribers, like, you have to say to yourself, like, really? When there's other demographics on YouTube that the algorithm's clearly pushing, okay? Like, that's another aspect of it. And it doesn't feel good to be discriminated against. It's okay. So what I reevaluated, this is a tangent, what I've reevaluated is that I had certain goals for my channel. I wasn't realizing them. I could do two things. I could quit or keep going. Well, if I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going with a different mindset, right? In other words, like, if I can't win the race, either quit the race or enjoy the race and do it on your own terms, because, enjoy the water and the food and being in the race, but don't worry about the outcome. And so that's where I'm at with the whole thing, which frees me up to pretty much do whatever I want or say whatever I want, because, YouTube's a kind of, if I put too much pressure on myself to do YouTube, like, what the hell? It's a lot of work and for no reward. So I'm going to do it on my terms. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. I mean, it is what it is. It's YouTube. So, that's out of the way. I have spent a lot of time. So the whole thing is, the Michael Kenna show that I went to in December really, like, turned my photography boat upside down. Like, it really made me wonder, like, what existential crisis time. And the videos that I've been making, is digital better than film, is film better than digital, etc., have all been me working through all that in my head, and with your guys' comments. Now, the majority of comments are really, really good, and definitely explore the concepts, and but there are some guys out there, the lethal combination of ignorance and arrogance. Like, really? You have no idea what you're talking about, and you're vehemently opposed to whatever I'm saying. Whatever. So, but the majority of the people who make comments are really great, and I really appreciate them, and I've learned from them. I mean, life... The reason why an expert's an expert is because an expert's willing to explore what they don't know. When a person says, I know it all and I'm an expert and there's nothing more to learn, they're not an expert. As a matter of fact, they probably don't know what the hell they're doing. So, I've spent a lot of time comparing digital and darkroom prints. And I think that's to a certain, it's not a waste of time in the sense that I have now gotten my digital prints to a level I would have never been able to get them to if I had not been able to compare them directly to the best darkroom prints that I can make. Having said that, I can only get my digital prints to about 98% of what my darkroom prints are. There's that last 2 to 5% that like they can't get there. They may not be able to get there. There's a difference between ink there's a difference between the way ink in paper reflects light versus the way silver on paper reflects light. Okay, and I think that's what I can't get. That's just a guess. The important salient point is I can't get there. Sure, it's much easier digitally with a digital file from a digital camera printed on a digital printer to get 98% of the way there. And it's really hard to get a darkroom print there. But you can get there. Okay. So it's kind of like taking a tramway 95% of the way up the mountain, but you can hike the whole way up the mountain. That's my experience and what I've discovered. Somebody said, you know, digital's awesome. I shoot wildlife and I couldn't do it without it. Yeah, great. You know, I'm not saying digital's bad. I would never shoot a wedding on film unless the bride and groom specifically requested that and knew what they were getting into. Like, I would shoot weddings all day long digitally, no problem, and I have. Portraits, senior portraits. For most things, digital is the way to go, right? Film is for when you want to get that last 2 to 5%. 95% of photographers don't even print their work. So this doesn't apply to you. Okay, if all you're doing is taking your 62 meg, your Hasselblad X2D exploration outfits, and all you're doing is putting them on Instagram, rock on. You're doing it, man. Awesome. That's great for you. Okay. I'm a fine art photographer, whatever that is, and I aspire to be a fine art photographer. And for me, the ultimate expression of my photography is the mounted and framed darkroom print, or print in general. All these prints you see behind me are all digital, and they're digitally printed. But this one isn't. And this took a lot of work to get to this level. And I'd hang this in a Michael Kenna exhibition, right next to his work. I'm not saying with his name on it. I'm saying, you know, that people looking at Michael Kenna's work would look at this and go, yeah, who is this guy? Edward Martins, never heard of him. Nice work. Okay, all right. This is a selenium and sepia toned Ilford multi-grade fiber base, handmade darkroom print, handmade by me. And you know, I think I'm going to start selling these on my website for $100 a piece. You pay for the shipping. Because the costs in materials, like if I can't sell them for $100, I can't sell them any cheaper than that. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time at $100 too, but it'd be nice to get real artwork out there in people's hands. Okay. They're a limited edition, 1 to 45. That's it. I'm only making 45 of them and then I'm done. What it would be is it's archival mat board, it's stamped on the back, it's museum 100% cotton rag board, signed, numbered, over matted. I cut the mats myself. It would be hinge mounted and put in a clear archival plastic bag, put in a box, shipped to you. Okay, Michael Kenna would charge $3,000 for this. Numbers 1 through 10, I think. And then the price goes up to like $4,500. And I have no worries at all in terms of the quality of that. I mean, it's processed to Michael Kenna Ansel Adams standards. And let's go back to the chef analogy, okay? If Gordon Ramsay cooked your breakfast and hand-selected, you know, free-range organic eggs, and he cooked them personally, and he got organic potatoes and cut them up and fried them, and, you know, on and on and on. Why is the breakfast that Gordon Ramsay handmade for you better than McDonald's big breakfast? And I know that's controversial. And I know you're saying to yourself, I find that hard to believe. How could anything be better than McDonald's big breakfast? And the answer is standards. Okay? The answer is Gordon Ramsay holds himself and prides himself in higher standards. I buy the McDonald's big breakfast, and most of the time that's what I want. I don't want Gordon Ramsay to cook me breakfast, you know, all the time, right? Or at all. I can't afford it. But I can make myself personally, I can make a breakfast better than McDonald's big breakfast, but it's the convenience, right? I'm paying for the convenience. I don't have to cook. I don't have to peel the potatoes. And for me, that's what digital photography's become. I'm sacrificing that 5% of quality that I know I can get out of my prints for convenience. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that's bad. Okay. So it's the journey of discovery that the past 6 months have been, and quantifying, you know, what standards is there. Can digital achieve the same standards and goals that I'm personally looking for? Those may not be your standards. You might just want a McDonald's breakfast, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand, but don't try to justify your liking of McDonald's breakfast, big breakfast, by trying to say that it's the same thing as Gordon Ramsay hand cooking you breakfast. It's not. Okay. I mean, would you rather have a poster of an Ansel Adams print, or would you rather have a print handmade by Ansel Adams and signed? Don't tell me they're the same thing. They're not. Okay. And to be clear, digital prints made in a printer, in an electronic computer printer, are the equivalent of photographic posters. They're machine made. They're not handmade. And it's not the fact that, you know, if I make a run of 45 prints and I hand print each one, that they're going to be different, because they're handmade. It's the difference that's important, not the fact that they're made by hand, that there's slight variations. There's going to be very little variation. If I make 45 prints, there's going to be very little variation in them. All right? There'll be some. They're not machine prints, they're handmade. But that's not the point. The point is I was there. I made them. They're made to my personal standards. When I push the print button and the digital file goes to the Canon Pro 1000, that's it. I got nothing to do with it anymore. I can make one, I can make 10,000. They're exactly the same, and I had nothing to do with it. I have no input anymore. When I make my 45 prints for a print run in the darkroom, I personally made each one. And each one turns out the same, to the same standard as the first one, because they're all made to the same standards. And it's my skill in making each print that makes each print that level. Okay, even though they're all the same, as close to this as I can make them to being the same, they're all made to that to my standards. Okay, and I have input all along the way to get them to that level. I personally have to do everything the same and the way I know how to do it in order to just make the print. When I push the print button and send the file to the Canon Pro 1000, that's it. I can go have lunch. I go have McDonald's big breakfast. You know, it's taken me 6 months to make this so clear. Okay, I hate film. It's a pain in my ass. It's a lot of work. Digital's easy. I barely have to show up. Criminally, I go out and take a roll of film, then I gotta process the film. I process the film, then I gotta look at them. If I want to put them in a video, I have to scan them. Dust. I'm not even going to say any more about dust. Okay, dust is the devil incarnate. That's it. That's all I'm saying about dust. Then if I want to make a print, I got to go in a dark room for at least 2 or 3 hours to get the print dialed in from the negative. And then once it's dry, then I evaluate it and look at it and go, nah. Most of the time I look at it and go, nah. And so that's 3 hours down the tube for nothing. But every once in a while, I go, yeah, that's it. And I mean, with digital, it's like, yeah, so what? You know, these are pretty pictures back here, but I'm not selling those to you for $100. They're not worth it. They're digital. And then there's one more thing about film. For me personally, this has nothing to do with you, okay? You know, you like what you like. This is what I like. These are my standards. This shot was taken in 1993. This negative is from 1993. That's 32 years ago. Okay, this negative that I'm printing this from is 32 years old. And that negative was physically there that night with me when I took this photograph. Is that a big deal? Eh, not really, but it's cool, okay? That's really cool. That turns me on. I like that. That a physical witness to the scene was with me that night when I clicked that shutter. And here it is 32 years later. And I've never really printed this before. Okay, I just discovered this negative in my archives. And this is what I got out of it. An Ankeny fountain. I'm sorry, it's not Ankeny fountain. This is Skidmore Fountain in Portland, Oregon. It probably doesn't look like that anymore. Okay. As a matter of fact, you'd probably be taking your life in your hands if you went there and photographed it at 10 o'clock at night. Not only that, I can tell you because I wrote on the sleeve, this was taken November 23rd, 1993. So, really like this print. It's just cool. Okay. Does every photograph need to be made to that level? Does every photograph need to be a handmade darker? No, obviously not. I think it's just cool that I can still do it. I was talking to a friend of mine I haven't talked to in 10 years. Great photographer, shot 4x5 for years. He lamented that he's got a garage full of fine art prints that he can't do anything with. And he actually gave up, I think I told you this already, he gave up photography. Well, not gave up, but he kind of put it on the back burner 8 years ago and started playing his guitar, which I probably should have done too, instead of wasting all my time on YouTube and trying to figure out, you know, what's a great print. Like, you know, I'm the only one that cares, but you know what? I'm okay with that. And he said that, because he's really into it, and he was into the galleries and everything, you know. And he had actually made a trip to Carmel, California, because he's from down there. And he went to all the galleries, and he was talking to the gallery owners. And they were actually, this was maybe 5 years ago, they were actually lamenting the fact that they're finding it hard to find photographers who actually do silver-based, you know, wet darkroom photography, fine art prints. Like the galleries, you know, which is interesting because it makes me wonder, like maybe there's a potential for some representation there. I don't know. You know, I need to do something because clearly YouTube ain't doing it. But it's all in the future. If I live long enough. I mean, you know, if I have a lot of success in the next 10 years, so what? I'm an old guy. You know, I mean, it'd be nice, and you know, but you get to a point where like you're kind of done trying to make it. Like if you haven't made it by now, you're probably not going to. And you got to be okay with that. And I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing the work that I do. If anything, the work that I do is some of the best work I've ever done. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of artists that, you know, after 60 is when they hit their stride and started really doing great work and got recognition and everything else. It still makes me wonder. I mean, when you're dead, and who cares, you know? There was that great Doctor Who episode with Vincent van Gogh, and if you haven't seen it, you should. The sci-fi is goofy with the dinosaur and everything, but in a way, it's not actually. The Doctor takes Vincent to the future and shows him what people think of his work, and that's some powerful stuff, for sure. So I'm going to end it on that. And thanks for watching, and I appreciate it. Subscribe, because subscriptions are where it's at on YouTube, and that feeds my desire to want to make videos. And even if you don't subscribe, thanks for watching anyway. All right, we'll see you out there. Have a great one. Bye.